all my crafty people out there. We have a new project. This is a take on some of the projects I've done before regarding lace and jeans. Seems to be my favorite subject matter. Can't seem to get it out of my system. Every time I thrift, I look for lace and denim. So here we go. I am going to do something, I think I would call it an exaggerated bell bottom. And why I say that is I'm going to start the bell at the top above my knee. Let's go ahead and get started with what I've got. All right, these are some black Wrangler jeans. They are obviously Wrangler. I think you can see it really clear in these. Wrangler boot cuts. They're black. They have basic embroidery on the pockets. I think it's supposed to represent the W for Wrangler. I've already tried them on. They do fit. Well, except for this 2.5 inch hem I'm going to have to take. Which, honestly, I think what I'm going to do is, just like the others, I'm just going to cut it off. I like the fray. I prefer it to fray. Let's see what our cotton mix is. Of course, it doesn't say there. But I'm pretty sure... Oh, no, my mistake. It's 99% cotton. So, we're going to get a nice little fringe out of that. These were at Goodwill for $4.99. Our Goodwill down here, it's all of them priced by what it is, not necessarily by what it could be worth, like the American Thrift and stuff like that. So $4.99 is what I pay for jeans. And you ready for the lace? What? Yes. It's a neat dress, and I got this at Goodwill as well. It looks like something someone probably wore to a nice party or probably a wedding. It zips up the back, and it is Eliza J. I did look up the comps on it, and I will put the comps for both the jeans and the dress up on the screen. But basically it's just a v-neck dress, some little puffy sleeves, but I've got a lot of skirt to work with. It bows out, so it's a good size piece of fabric, and to be perfectly honest, I think all I'm going to use is the fabric between the middle seam that connects the zipper and the side seam. Because that amount of fabric, let's see if I can show you real quick, is pretty substantial as far as a bell goes. And I think I can make, we're talking, these are the two seams that we're talking about. I think that's going to be plenty of bell. It goes, it's about 25.5 inches tall, and not too wide. Let's say maybe well, no, it's about 16 inches times 2, so it's about 32 inches in width. And again, it does have a natural bell to it because this skirt flares out. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut around the waistline like we usually do. I'm going to cut down the seams that are the zipper and the sides, and I'll actually get 3 pieces of fabric out of this. The front piece I don't believe I'm going to need, and it's the largest piece out of this skirt, so that front piece is going to be utilized for something else, but I don't know what yet. I'm sorry, this is a lot of fabric. So that front piece is all one piece, no seams, so it could be something else, and this is what it's going to look like without that that backing. You can see it a little better. It's a pretty lace. It's kind of a creamy taupey color, and the flowers are outlined in what's probably just a dark color. I don't. It could go with gray. It could go with brown. Obviously, I'm going to put it with black. I thought that would be a nice contrast, and we'll see how it turns out. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started by zipping down the back of this dress. And I will have a before picture of the dress in whole. I'll put it on and wear it, and the jeans. But I will add those to the short that I will do after the video is done. And I will do a reveal within this video. I've gotten some comments and some suggestions that I do that. So I'm going to go up the back, and then we're going to go around the waistline. So I'm going to start here, and I will get back with y'all as soon as I have this skirt separated from the top of the bodice. So I'll be right back. Alright, I've got the first panel off. Showing it to you upside down gives you a better view. So I think this panel will be more than wide enough for a really substantial belt, and I believe I'll be able to use this full length in the belt. I may even cut into the jeans a little bit, like a squared off top, to be able to gather this. I want this to be full. I want it to flounce when I'm walking. So I may cut in, instead of going straight to a point, I may cut the jeans squarely all the way down. That way I can put a little bit of a gather in it, get a little more out of it. I just wanted to show y'all that this is the last cut on the side, the other side of the panel. Again, these panels are between the back zipper and the side seam. And that is it. I actually salvaged the satin. I'm not really sure why. Well, never know what you might be able to use it for. So now I have 2 of these panels, and if I gather them a little bit at the top, I think that I will have some really nice bells, what I'd call some exaggerated bells. My yellow ones were minimal, the bells on those, and the blue lace pants was not really a bell, it was a replacement of the sides of the pants, of the jeans. And now, like those though, the way I cut into them and made kind of an opening on the side as opposed to just opening up the seam, I think that's kind of what I'm going to do with these. And then, of course, the lace pants that I replaced the entire leg on, this wouldn't work because this is too short. I think it's going to work fine for a bell though. And it'll be a neat, like I said, contrast color-wise to that black denim with the black outlining on the flowers. So the next thing I'm going to do, got my 2 panels cut. I'm just going to trim off this excess down here. I am not going to worry about a hem. I don't mind the fraying. It's in right now. People are wearing their jeans frayed, holed, and everything else. So I'm just making sure that these are the same width. Now, in all honesty, if you were having these professionally hemmed, there is very likely to be a difference between one leg and another. That's a human thing. We're not symmetric. But I'm making it easy for myself. If I cut these off straight and I know I have a little give in them for a heel, then they won't be, it won't be a problem if they're, a little long or a little uneven. So, but I mean, I'm cutting them even. So, let's see, I've pinned both of them. again, I'm just making sure that these two meet and are even. Alright, what I'm doing is the easier way to do this. I measured how much I needed to take off, broke out the old hemming ruler and the marking pencil pen, I don't know what they call it. It's a weird little contraption, but it's been a lifesaver. Making sure that all the edges down here are even. Take a good old quilting ruler, run across there. There we go. Now I don't really need the line because I'm going to use this for the rotary cutter, but it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to do the smart thing. Now my rotary cutter's fairly sharp, but I do this little pushing because denim is tough to get through sometimes. So let's try this other leg. Again, make sure that they're even on the ends down here. And put it right on that line, because it's okay if I cut a little below the line. Woo, might make everything shake. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. Got our ends off for my tall self. Now they're my length, and I had already put a pin in the jeans where I want to start the lace, and you can see this is the crotch line here. It's pretty high up, but I'm looking for the fullness. And this, we said we've got about 25.5 inches of fabric. And that's right at about 20, well, no, it's about 26. I'm probably going to have to, just for the fact that we only have so much fabric to work with. I'm going to fold this in half, kind of give us a rough look. This is essentially what we're looking at for the fullness. Now, of course, it's a fairly soft lace, so it will fold naturally with gravity. But I think we're gonna be right below this pin as far as where we start, and that's fine with me. I just put it there kind of as a gauge when I was trying them on, how high I would be okay with the lace going. So I think this is gonna be cool looking. And again, I think I'm going to cut in a little. So let me mark how much. I'm just going to take one side of this lace. I'm going to lay it down here with the edge that's probably going to fray. So I'm going to take that little hem that's already in the dress, and I'm going to lay it right over the edge of my jeans. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to lay it up because it's going to fray a little bit. So I'm going to lay it right up against the edge of those jeans. And I'm about 1 inch shy of my safety pin of where I wanted to start it. And you got to figure I've got about 1/4 inch seam allowance to work with. So when I'm putting it on. So, yeah, almost 2 inches shorter than what I was looking for, but I think it's still going to work out great. It's still going to be a much wider bell than the previous ones and a much fuller one. So let me get to trimming the jeans, make a decision on how I'm going to cut those out. I'll come back and show you what we're going to do, and we'll get it sewn before long. All right, I needed to make some decisions. I think we talked about cutting in a little bit as opposed to just taking the seam out or opening the seam up. And I folded the fabric like a pleat. So it's folded like a pleat, which, by the way, I don't know why that took me forever. And I debated on whether or not the pleat should be tucked in or pushed out as far as the folds. And I came up with this. So essentially we've got we've got it folded in half, and then we've got the edges pushed in to make the pleat, and I'm pleating it where that the seam or the folds meet in the back, so you see the flat edge of the pleat in the front, which I think you can do it either way. The reason I did it this way is because I want that flare to push out, not to dip in to these folds. So this is it folded the way it will probably fall on the leg. And of course then I'll have all of this fabric expand for the flare. So now that I've decided that, I'm going to go over there and I'm probably going to put a basting seam in the top of this. I'm going to give it a 1/2 inch seam allowance because it's not super holey lace, but I just want to make sure we catch it. So I may even put something over that just to make sure it stays in place. So I'm going to keep that pleat, sew that pleat in place before I attach it to the leg. And then on the leg, I figured up exactly where it needs to be with that 1/2 inch seam allowance. So if I was to take this and put it up here, you can see I've got about a 1/2 inch between that white line and the edge of my fabric, so that's going to be my seam allowance. And I'm going to cut out, this width is 3 inches across with this pleat in it. So it comes up to about 3 inches right here, roughly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow a 1/2 inch seam allowance over here and over here, and I'm going to take it to 2 inches as far as how much I'm going to remove from the jean seam line, the side seam. So when it comes to this, I will cut 2 inches deep, 1 inch on each side of that seam, that side seam, and cut it all the way down, kind of like a pocket for the pleat, the fabric. Instead of just opening up the seam line, like I said, I'm going to cut 2 inches, 1 inch on each side of that seam. And then we'll be able to kind of insert this and use that pleat at the top to give it the fullness I'm looking for to expand our exaggerated bell. So I think it's time for us to, actually no, let me cut this 2 inch well out, and then we'll head over to the machine. I'll see y'all at the machine. I thought y'all might like to see how I was doing this. It's just a really quick process. This particular ruler has black numbers, not exactly what I want to see on. So I've got my jeans folded where the outside seam is exposed here, and I'm just taking this little one with yellow numbers on it, and I'm placing, the other side of the pants is buckling. I'm placing it right on the seam. I'm making sure that I'm going to the top where my white line is, and then I'm just marking down as I catch that seam on the side of my ruler. Just making sure I don't go under it. So that's my rough sketch of my 2 inch well that I'm going to take out to put the lace in. That'll give us a little more fullness, I think. I don't want to lose too much of this boot cut because that's also going to add to the fullness. And that's, it's not a wide leg by any means, but it's a boot cut, so it does have an angle to it. All right, that's what I wanted to show y'all. Now I'm going to take the scissors, cut this well out on both the pants, and then we'll this time meet over at the sewing machine. All right, I took the well out, the 2 inches, 1 inch on each side of the side seam, and I pinned in my lace. And of course, I've got my jeans turned inside out, and the lace is being pinned right side, that's with the little black outline on the flowers, to right side of jeans. was a little tricky to get this pleat pinned in to this top squared off cut, but I think I've got it in there pretty good. I'm going to sew this part at the top of the leg where the pleat is first, because honestly I don't want to come up the leg and have a whole bunch of fabric or something like that. I can adjust the bottom easier than I can this pleat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run across this at about a 1/2 inch, maybe a little, yeah, 1/2 inch probably should do it. I think that's what I measured for. So I'm gonna run across here at a 1/2 inch, and then we'll work our way down the sides. And the way I'm doing this, there will not be a raw edge on the outside of the jean. There'll be a finished edge because we're putting right sides to right sides. And what will happen is that jean fabric, being the heavier fabric, will fold over. You'll see. Hard to describe. I've got my machine loaded with black thread. Usually I'm using that pretty gold color for all the other jeans because it matches, but obviously we need some black thread here. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna stitch this top part where the pleat is first. Pick up my foot. I'm gonna try and make sure that I just get that pleat. It's gonna be hard for y'all to see because I've got a lot of fabric here. Seems to be my lot in life. Alright, let me just kind of measure. That is a little less than a 1/2 inch. I'll push it over just a little bit. I just want to make sure that I'm keeping up with the measurement as best I can on this one, because I'm working with the length of the leg that's already defined, so I don't want to mess that up. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to do a little back stitch, and I'm just going to go across. I'm going to go straight as possible. I'm using the edge of the lace as my guide, and it's flush with the jean fabric. I'm going to back stitch a little bit here. And I'm going to check it before I go any further. So I think I'm good. And I'm going to take these top pins out because they're not necessary anymore. I'm not sure I'm feeling really good about that part right there. So I'm going to catch that when I go down the side here. And I may even sew, there goes a pin. Sew from the other side to make sure that I catch that, that 1/2 inch worth. So I don't want to catch too much because then my lace will be short. So I'll make sure everything's pulled out. And I am just going over that stitch. And I'm stopping at the corner. I'm going to pick up my foot and turn legitimately the corner. I'll take that pin out, which I probably shouldn't have done yet, but that's okay. We're just going to pull it from under here, make sure we've got it nice and squared away. It's kind of meeting the wrong side of two squares together. It's not the best situation, but the good thing about these particular projects is there's wiggle room for forgiveness, and we can always get the old seam ripper out and take it apart. So I trust my process here. Alright, I have turned the corner, and now what I am going to do, oh, dog's barking. Perfect timing. Bruce. Oh, actually it's Lula. All right, I'm going to stop here, go see what's wrong with the dog, come back to the machine, and keep going. All right, I have finished one leg, and I am sewing the last side down on the second leg. And let me tell you, this is some tough angles to get into, so if you have trouble with it, you're in good company. Because the problem is you've got such a tight little spot there to sew, especially when you meet the corner, that I caught some of my fabric from the other side, so I had to unpluck it, you know. So anyway, on the home stretch, and I am actually sewing it from the lace side, which I was sewing it from the jean side earlier. But as long as I know that that lace is flush with my jean, then it's really not a big problem. And I keep checking that. And trying to keep that 1/2 inch seam allowance. And make sure that you pull your lace and your jean together. My lace has got just a tiny bit of stretch. Honestly, that's just because it's got little holes in it, so it gives it a stretch. So I just want to make sure that it meets the end of my jeans and I don't have a lot of gap there. It's not a huge problem if you've got some gap. You can either, sorry, I got to get over that little hem in the lace. And you can trim it to meet the lace, but if you hold on to it, you can probably get it pretty straight. Now, again, this is kind of tricky. These corners were tricky because you could pick up the fabric from the other side, and there wasn't a really good, legit way to verify it. I'm gonna hit this corner again. I don't think it's secure, but it's not deep enough on the denim. It's too shallow a hem or seam, I'm sorry. So I'm going to make sure I catch, and again, I'm fixing to catch the edge of this, the other side of the fabric. So make sure you pull that baby out. And there's no guarantee that I'm not going to catch it. Just none. Let's see if I got it that time without catching the other side. Okay, didn't catch the other side. Good. And I just got a little deeper into the denim, making sure that that's a good seam. All right, let's turn it inside out. We've sewn both of them, both the legs in, and hopefully I haven't done too bad a job. And the corners look pretty good. The pleats look fairly good. I got a little bit of gap right there, but as long as all of it was caught, then they're pretty good. And there's the other pleat, and that squaring off. And I think I've got everything caught. So let's take it over the table, look at it flat, and then I will try them on. All right, see you over there. All right, everybody, I've got the flares in, and they do flare. They're very wide. They start high on the pants, because you can see here's the waistline, here's the crotch right here, so pretty high up, and they go all the way down like this. So I think we're going to get a nice flare out of these. They have a slight pleat at the top, and I did cut out 1 inch all the way down on either side of the side seam in order to put them in there. But I'm pretty excited to try them on, and I know that's what y'all want to see, so I'm gonna try them on and get a video made of, well, I'm going to add it obviously to this video, And before I do that, I just want to thank everybody for subscribing and liking and commenting and let me know what you think and helping me out with suggestions. I really appreciate it. And please, if you try any projects, put them in the comments. Send them to me. I would love to see what y'all are making. So again, please subscribe and like. Thank you for all your support. And the next scene will be me trying these on. And y'all just have to excuse my Chicken Whisperer shirt. It's what's on today. Alright, like I said, you gotta ignore the Chicken Whisperer shirt, but I am super pumped with the way these came out. They have lots of flare and they move really well. The lace is just stiff enough where it moves with you really well. Makes a presence. I'm super excited. These are probably my second favorite pair. So I will get these out to you, and I'll get a couple of shorts made of the before and after. Thanks again for all your support.